What's up, everybody? Dan the Ultra Dad back again. I hope your weekend's going well, your Thanksgiving holiday weekend. Hope you had a chance to look at my Thanksgiving video. Definitely hit the upper right-hand corner for that if you want to check it out. Had some fun looking back at 2021, and not a complete full year in review, but definitely had some fun talking about some of the highlights from 2021. So anyway, before I get into tonight's video, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, definitely hit that subscribe button. Hit the thumbs up for this video if you like it, and the bell notification if you'd like to be notified of my future content. So with that out of the way, let's talk about 2022. So very recently, I have pretty much decided to run several 100K races, 100-kilometer races, as a part of my ultra running schedule for 2022. And so what I thought I might do is look back at my most recent 100K and just get an idea as to what my goal should be for my time, how I want to perform at that race, and see see what I can do. Maybe I can hopefully improve upon it, get a PR, a personal record. That would be really good. So I wanted to quickly go through that and just kind of share with you what I've done in the past and with the 100K. So I've run 100Ks a couple different times, really just twice. The first time was just an individual attempt. I kind of created my own. I ran a 50K race, and then I started like 6 hours early, and so I stretched it into a 100-kilometer training race. That was a couple years ago. I did that. Doesn't really count truly as a 100-kilometer race, but it was the distance. So the second one is a true race. It's probably the only real 100K race I've run, and that was the Bandera 100-kilometer race down in Texas near San Antonio. And for that race, I had to go back and look at Strava to see how I did. So looking at my Strava account, the Bandera that was on January 11th, 2020, right before COVID hit, right before the lockdown started to happen. So kind of crazy I was able to get that race in. But I had a 15:23:08, 14:30 per mile, and my watch said I think it said it was 63.67 miles. So let's take a look at my belt buckle. That is the Bandera 100K belt buckle. That is pretty much the coolest belt buckle I think I've gotten so far, even though it's just for 100K. Take a look at my map, and that's the 100K map. It was actually a 2-loop course, 2 50K loops. And we'll go through the paces in a minute, but just quickly glance through some of the splits. I started off at a decent pace, something like 10 to 12 minutes per mile. And then as it went on, of course, you can see there at mile 32, that was the middle between the 2 loops. That was only that I took about a half-hour break there, and then I continued on to my second loop. And of course, as the race went on, my time got slower, but those were my paces. And then take a look at my race analysis. I kind of like this feature on Strava, but you can see that 25% into the race, it took me almost 3 hours, and then a total of 7 hours halfway through the race, and 3/4 of the way through, 11 hours, 16 minutes, and the final time was 15:23. The pace was pretty consistent. If you take a look, of course, you see there at the end of the first loop, it went way down because I was laying on the grass, if I remember correctly, trying to rest. But throughout the race, it was fairly consistent. You can see it got a little bit slower as I went, but really, I looking back now, it's kind of interesting to see that I didn't get a whole lot slower, which is kind of cool. So take a look now at my heart rate, and that's pretty interesting. My endurance, moderates, it would seem to be the most heart rate level, and that is just a quick look at my Strava account. So anyway, that was my first and only true 100-kilometer race. Of course, I've run 200 milers, and I've attempted 2 others as well in the past, but 100 milers are a little bit different. I think I've shared with you about that in the past. I mean, 100 milers are much slower, and so the 100K is it's not a fast race by any means, but so anyway, took a look at Strava. Let's now talk about my goals for my 100K. My current PR, like you just saw, was a 15:23 and 15 hours and 23 minutes for 100 kilometers, which, by the way, is 64 miles, if I didn't mention that a few minutes ago. It actually should be, I think, 62 miles. I don't know. Let's ask Siri what she thinks. How many miles is 100 kilometers?
100 kilometers is 62.14 miles.
Okay, 62.14 miles. Of course, every race isn't going to be exact. I think a good goal for me to try to meet this coming year in 2022 is going to be to drop it down to 14 hours. It's definitely pretty aggressive to drop an hour and a half off my time, but I think there's some ways I can save time. Number one, I spent almost a half hour at the aid station in the middle of the race, so I can save a lot of that time. It's good to rest, but I think it was probably too long there in the middle of the race. And then I just got done telling you that I thought the pace was pretty flat across the board, but I do remember going a little bit slower towards the end. I think maybe a little less walking would probably be in order. So I think 14 hours is a somewhat reasonable goal for me to have. And that would be an average of just about 13 minutes and 30 seconds, 13 and a half minutes per mile across the board. And I did some research and looked at the Zion 100K because I think that's a race I'm hoping to be able to do. And if I were to get 14 hours, I would be just about the top 25 overall, and I might even be competitive for my age group. And one more thing that I kind of take a little bit of comfort in is I did run a 50 miler this summer, and I ran it in 11 hours and 45 minutes. So I would definitely need to improve upon that, but I think another 12 miles I should be able to get done within an hour and a half or so, which would get me close to that range of where I want to finish for the 100K. So I was originally going to talk a little bit more about my training plans, my training goals, but I think I'll save that for another video because this is already taking way too long. But I wanted to share with you kind of my past history with 100Ks and also let you know what my overall goal I think is going to be. And, you know, I'll definitely reserve the right to adjust that as we get closer and as I train through the winter, but that is what I'm looking at right now. Definitely let me know in the comments below what your goals are for spring and summer of 2022, or maybe even this winter. If you have any races going on, let me know. I'd love to hear about it. So thanks again for joining me tonight. I hope you enjoyed a little bit of this, and I can't wait to share my journey with you as we go through the year. Really looking forward to challenging myself this year with the 100-kilometer distance. Doesn't mean I'm not going to get a 100-miler, by the way. I still intend on doing that. I'm definitely going to still try to get a 100-miler done this year, but the 100K distance is going to probably be my focus. So thanks again for joining me tonight, and we will catch you in the next one.